just didn't know how to treat lupus. I don't know how to manage multiple sclerosis, but I could bring the doctor in and have their expertise via telehealth. And then my clinic on the ground could go get the job done and help the patient navigate all of the stuff that is medicine. And this was the genesis of my new company.
Welcome to another session, another round of the 7-Figure Journey podcast. My name is David Gilliland. I'm one of your hosts. We have Kara Hartl with us, or Dr. Hartl, if that's how you know her. She is with Troy Medical. We're so delighted to have you on the call, Kara. Thanks for calling in from Austin.
David, thank you so much for having me.
We love on this show just diving into tell us how you got started. Tell us a little bit about your business. Who do you focus on? What's the value you bring? And then how'd you get started in the first place?
So I'm going to talk about Troy Medical, but it actually began pre-Troy Medical. So I'm a doctor by training, and I trained at ivory tower institutions across the country, and went from this amazing place called the Bascom Palmer Eye Institute, like top hospital in the country, down in Miami, Florida, and did this crazy, ridiculous thing, which was straight out of residency, moved to Fairbanks, Alaska, to start a new ophthalmology practice from scratch, like day one out of training. Everybody, the look on your face says it all. Like, I was crazy.
What weather were you chasing? It wasn't the weather that pulled you there.
It was not, as a matter of fact. It was an opportunity to do something different. It's like the path less traveled. And I moved into interior Alaska and literally raised the bar of medicine. It was the most inspiring experience. I brought a world-class eye hospital and a world-class medical center into the middle of interior Alaska. I took the Bascom Palmer, like creme de la creme, ivory tower, best practice in the world, and I brought the same thing into middle of Alaska. And it was amazing. Of course, when you do amazing things, it's funny that if you build it, they will come. And we built the best of the best, and people came. And we grew it, and we grew it, and we grew it. And I grew it into a 30,000 square foot medical center, and then a multi-specialty medical center, really practicing tremendous medicine. And, that was my first company. My first company was, how do you practice the best of the best in the middle of Alaska? And we did it. But I had a problem because I could only really do it for the things that I could do. Like, I'm an ophthalmologist, so I could practice like spectacular level ophthalmology, but I couldn't get a rheumatologist or a neurologist or an endocrinologist. I couldn't get all the other ologists because, believe it or not everybody wants to live in Fairbanks, Alaska. Isn't that funny? It's incredible. I don't understand.
Can't imagine.
8 months of winter and minus 40 degrees. Like, what are you talking about? However, these are my people. They were my patients. And because so many medical conditions present in the eyes, someone would come in and I would diagnose them with multiple sclerosis because they presented with an optic neuritis, or lupus because they presented with a scleritis or a uveitis. Talk about diabetes. We see diabetic eye disease. I have people who are going blind and have a hemoglobin A1C greater than 13. So it's off the charts. They can't even measure it. And we had no endocrinologist. So how do I navigate that systemic disease when it overlaps with my patients? And I just literally, they would have to go down to Anchorage, which is a 400-mile trip, and the people had an 8-month wait list, or they have to fly 4 hours to Seattle. This was just nuts. So when COVID hit, one of the silver linings of the crazy pandemic is that telehealth got validated.
Yeah.
But telehealth is more than just a doctor on the screen telling you what to do, especially in rural America. So in smaller town communities, the medicine for the best of the best in Silicon Valley is challenging. It is a giant spider web of what do I do and coordination benefits.
Yeah. We all live the nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And even people who should know everything still can't navigate it. So I needed to be able to create a system that helped the patient navigate all of medicine. And the reality was I knew exactly how to do that. I ran a clinic on the ground. I knew where to get labs, radiology, infusions, minor procedures, anything you needed, we could get done in my community. I just didn't know how to treat lupus. I don't know how to manage multiple sclerosis, but I could bring the doctor in and have their expertise via telehealth. And then my clinic on the ground could go get the job done and help the patient navigate all of the stuff that is medicine. And this was the genesis of my new company. So of course I came up with this brilliant idea in December of 2020, and my staff looks at me with their eyes crossed and says, "Doc, we can't do it. We're drowning. It's 2020. Don't you know it's COVID? Everybody's drowning right now. It's the winter." And so I said, okay. And then 2 weeks later, one of my most beloved patients that I had been taking care of for a decade barely made it across the exam room because his psoriatic arthritis was debilitating him. He lost his rheumatologist. He had no medications. He was being treated with prednisone, which was sending his sugars through the roof. We had no endocrinologist and no neurologist. He was literally like disintegrating in front of me. I'd been taking care of him for a decade. And to watch that happen, like I literally walked out of his exam room in tears. I looked at my staff. She said, "We're starting the company, aren't we?"
Yeah, we're starting the company.
We're starting the company. So his name is Troy. And so we decided that, like, what is inspiration? It's the person you can't say no to. Like I knew the answer to help him, and to not do it, I can't live with myself for that. And so I started the company, and we grew it in Alaska, and it is doing everything I'd ever hoped for and more. It's absolutely spectacular. I sold my original practice and am now scaling Troy Medical across Texas and then across the rest of the country, because the reality is this problem of access to care and specialty medical care in rural America, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like every small town in America has the exact same problem that we had in Fairbanks.
Yeah, we do.
This solution is actually doing it. It's practicing spectacular medicine in the local community, is distributing medicine in a totally different modality that gets the job done for the 83 million people who are medically underserved. And so that's what we're doing.
Oh, Kara, that is fantastic. And for the listeners, if you are not hearing the passion in her voice, then you need to see a doctor. I mean, she's excited about it. She's into it. And Troy Medical, named after the inspiration. When we have a purpose beyond just the profits roll in too, right? And you tap into a discretionary effort in everyone in your team when that purpose is alive and well within them. So, Kara, thanks for sharing the passion and where you're at. Now, so you've taken a couple companies. This is your third company that you've taken beyond $1 million. So 95% of businesses don't even get to this point, and you've done it 3 times. And then you've taken that and you've tripled and quadrupled it from that point for 2 of your businesses already. What are some of the keys that have made a difference for you, that have helped you to take your $1 million business and get it to 5 million plus?
First and foremost is keep the why first, like straight in front of you. Why are we doing this all? I'm doing this to help people. And the rest of it was you create the system behind it. The why keeps you going and keeps everybody going.
Yeah.
Like you said, like if you do it, the money will come. If you build it, they will come. If you do something spectacular and you do it right and you treat people exactly the way you want to be treated, the rest is going to figure itself out. Yes, you need to create the systems. And so with the why first and foremost in front of you, design the systems so that the why always stays at the top. So we're doing this because we're creating a system that allows spectacular medicine to be distributed in places where you've never been able to have it before. Okay, so first and foremost, like we need to practice spectacular medicine. What is spectacular medicine? Let's define that. All right, here's our first system. The first system is we have a design where we walk the patient through everything so they actually get the job done in a way that meaningfully impacts their life. Okay, number one, how does each person do their job? In the pyramid of, we have a medical assistant, they have a job. I have an insurance authorizer, they have a job. I have a doctor, they have a job. We create all of the systems around them so that spectacular medicine actually gets delivered to the patient. If you do that and you do it in a way that is reproducible, all right, we got this. You're doing the heavy lift of creation once, and then you rinse and repeat, and everybody knows their part, and the outcome is spectacular, and so people want to keep coming. And so if we focus on that and design a system, like there's ways there's always hurdles. There's always hurdles. But the key is how to create a system to get over, around, under, through, um, every hurdle and find a way to make that why happen.
I love that. Absolutely love it. And I mean, again, let me just unpack a little bit. The first thing that you brought in to go from the 1 million up to the 3, 4, 5 million, or 10 team members up to 30 team members, be able to really do that successfully, is keep the why forefront in their minds. And then, second, you kept saying the why is the guide for the process that you put in place. If you're doing excellence over here, it's not best practice in my industry, it's best practice for my why, which looks different than the industry best practice and what everyone else is following. If you're doing something different, your process is going to look different, and it has to serve the why. Let that be the guiding piece. The why, then who we're serving and what they most need to accomplish, how we're going to help them. Now the process has to do that over and over again, and that's different, right? And that's intentional. I call that intentional design instead of just by default. So great insight. What else? I mean, I want another nugget. I love those first two.
Well, the other thing, I mean, it's a little easier for me than for a lot of industries. I mean, this is like, it's a tangible why. And the emotional buy-in to what we're doing is, it's palpable. I mean, all the culture stuff talks about you need to have that buy-in, like that something moreness. And it's easy in an industry like mine, where like we have 83 million Americans in medically underserved communities. Like that's a big why.
It's a big
And so,
why.
you know,
Everybody's got a brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparent that's suffering because of this why not being cared for.
everybody. Yep. And so, one of the important things that we've learned is having that leadership team. Um, Never forget that, but then also feel the inspiration and the ownership of that cause, and also of the creation of the processes. And one thing we talked about earlier is, I mean, I've grown a company up to 35, 37 employees. I've never grown it to 100 or 1,000. And there's a lot to learn in that. I've read Scaling Up and Navigating the Growth Curve, and we run our company on EOS, and I have a CEOS advisor, and we have all these systems. There's so many things, but one of the biggest black boxes is the things you don't know. You're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to educate myself like like a good student would, but there's nothing like the school of hard knocks. So I would love some advice on how to truly grow my leadership team right now into the leadership team of the next generation of leaders.
Nice.
Because
I love.
my CEO is going to be running more people under her, and she needs to know how to do that.
Yeah,
My
I, I
I'm the
I love
CEO.
the question, right? And because the reality is, if we're growing, if our business is growing, there's not a one of us who are the CEO our business needs or the leader our business needs 6 months from now. We're not there today. And if we stay the same, so does the business. Period.
Right.
Right. And so yeah. And then at each and every level, they have to level up. They've got to take those next steps. And then what can we build to intentionally do this? The larger companies have they have a full leadership development programs, and they rotate them around to different places. And they've got the money, they've got the time, the staff, the resources, and we don't have that kind, right? No one's got that kind of time and excess capacity to be able to have so many people on the bench or whatever else just being built. And so, how do we do that? Because our future growth, and you just said 100, 1,000 people. So 10x, 20x, 50x where we are today. How do we achieve that? And that's what we give up if we don't figure out how to shift gears at this stage. And we're going to talk about this at the about 25, 35 employee stage. Okay, right around
Mm-hmm.
in there. One of the key things, and you'll see this across companies everywhere, this is one of the typical plateaus. So
Mm-hmm.
we either we almost think like, well, I guess this is the market served. That's one of the things that comes up. Maybe this is our market size. Or maybe this is just as much as I can handle. The headache's too high. we would need to do some massive investment to hit to the next level. Uh, but really, it has to do with how do I personally shift gears, because I'm I'm riding a bicycle. Imagine you're riding this and you're pumping away, and people are flying by you. And you're like, why are they going faster? I'm working harder. Like, what is going on here? And it's a matter of shifting gears so the same energy gets 3x the output. And that's what we're looking at.
Exactly. Like this is the company that, I mean, the market size is absolutely massive. Right now, we like the niche that we're in is one that is grossly underdeveloped. Long-term outpatient chronic disease management, like there's not many people in this, and that need is absolutely giant. So from my standpoint, as I'm looking at the future, our market is
It's
absolutely, I mean,
huge.
it's humongous.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
blue ocean here. You're doing
yeah,
something others can't do. And everyone's just like, I need. And you're like, I got to figure out how to deliver all of that. Beautiful
right.
spot to be in.
I mean, these are good problems to have, but they're still
But
problems,
there's
and
still
you know,
problems.
and they're it's exciting, and so this is why like I've become a massive student of growth, because you're right, the CEO I'm going to be when we launch the next 10, 30, 50, and that's before we even leave the state of Texas.
Yeah,
And there's 50 to 100 possibilities in virtually every state. Every person I talk to across everywhere, places that you don't even think. Like I was talking to somebody in Hawaii. They're like, oh my gosh, we have such an access to care. I'm like, Hawaii? Oh, wait, you have to fly between islands
that's
to
right.
get to a doctor. Right. Yeah, you have an access to care issue.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean,
And,
California is the most medically underserved. You're like, California? Yep. The entire east side of California and all the north, severely medically underserved.
yeah,
You don't think about this, but you think about, okay, Montana, you get this, Wyoming, Nebraska, for sure, East or West Texas, absolutely. But you don't. Some of these places that are some of the most medically underserved would never be the ones that come to mind, and yet
yeah, they are.
83 million. That's about 25% of our population lives in medically underserved areas.
Yeah, and then yeah, I mean, we won't keep talking about it, but that means your market size and revenue is in the trillion level,
It is.
right?
Actually, I just did my TAM, my SAM, and my SOM. We're going to do a small raise, and like the numbers are kind of laughable. They're
That's
so
right.
big.
That's what they are.
So big.
So fun space, and any one of us. I mean, even if you have a landscaping business, because you and I recently ran into a landscaping thing before the call. If you've got a landscaping business, you have massive potential still. You could be at 30 people and growing that beyond. You have the same challenge Kara has in this arena. She's got some others, but because even in landscaping or in a trade, you have a lower cost of entry for each of your new locations or places you serve. Hers is a little higher, but still, right? Like, how do we do this? What do we do? And one of the keys, and I love that you already use some great systems like a scaling up or an EOS or some of these others. They're fantastic management systems that get the team pulling in the same direction. Everybody knows their part. They can do their part. They have metrics. There are meeting rhythms to ensure we're hitting goals that we're aimed at and that we're doing. And everyone is setting goals together that we can look at and ensure that they're moving us the same direction, right? That's what they do. They get us to work in concert, mostly in the operations of our business. On the EOS side, they do that. Scaling up, we'll also talk a little bit on the strategic side of the business to get everybody pulling the same way, or an OKR system, right? Thinks a lot in that building of the future piece. But one of the key things throughout that gets missed and lost through some of these systems is the how do I lead leaders and how do I build them fast enough? And then how do I scale culture and passion?
Hmm.
Because Kara, yours isn't just a medical practice. You have a cause. And I'll tell you what, it's a powerful one and it's going to change the world. And everyone on your team is excited because they get to spend their 8 to 10 hours a day working on something meaningful. they don't have to wait till they leave work to do something meaningful. They get to become the person they wanted to become at work. So when they're at home, they're a step further in becoming who they want to be at home too, right? Their life is full of purpose. And that is an endless source of motivation. You
Right.
can't motivate somebody. You can get someone to do what you want them to do, but motivation comes from within. It comes from
Hmm.
choice. It comes from passion and meaning. So scaling that is harder than people think. And it has to be done intentionally. And it's actually right around the number 30 that you start to run into the issues. And the reason is Kara's crazy passionate. And Kara can touch the people around her. But can Kara get those people to be just as crazy passionate? So it puts it into their teams, and those people remain passionate and excited. And is that message the same, or even better, enhanced within their spaces and personalized? Right. And so that requires a little bit of science and maybe a little magic. The magic you've already got. Okay, and so I want to touch it. You have just a very unique spot where we're talking about saving lives on the daily.
Hmm.
And I used landscaper just because of the again, we have a landscaper in the background in the beginning, and that the landscaper, you might say, what are they going to say? I probably talked with half a dozen landscapers and worked with them along the way, along with businesses in every industry. And even they have found deeply meaningful purposes. There was one landscaper. I was like, okay, let's come up with a purpose and things. And some are like, oh, this is garbage. People just want a paycheck. But this one, he said, I want to make the American dream reachable for everybody. I was like, what? You're a landscaper. What are you talking about? He said, these people come, and he has a lot of immigrant workforce that comes in.
Hmm.
He said, they come at great cost to try to find and build a better life. And if I can help the American dream become a reality for them, my business served its purpose. And he had a great landscaping business, and it was growing, right? And he didn't try to hold people in. He would help spin off people to become their own landscaping business. And he had a model set up where he could take care of the marketing and things, and they'd pay into that. But he could help them go and build and grow and build their teams and care for their families. And I mean, like, what kind of passion is that? There was a lot of passion in a landscaping business, right? And I was like, okay, we can do this for any business. We can do this for anyone, right? So, love that you have the passion. Now, as we start saying, how do I learn the craft of building leaders? I think the first thing is to say what you did with your business for your customers was, what do we most need to achieve? What is excellence in service? And you probably have
Hmm.
some metrics around your excellence in service. And we need some kind of metrics or a model of excellence in leadership. And here's a brief model. It may be helpful. And then let's dive into some practical ways you can use now that you don't have to like set up anything fancy. You don't have to build a whole bunch. You can just use it. But what we've found excellence in leading and therefore in building leaders is one, that when they're promoted to this leadership role, it's not just to make sure all of the other KPIs are delivered. That's part of their role. Their first thing is to learn how to set the vision and get it deep into the hearts of their team. They need to set the vision, get it in deep, and they can do that in a way that isn't, I'm the smart man or woman at the top, but rather we co create that vision together with my team so that the buy in is there immediately. So, how we
Right.
set the vision deeply through co creating, and that's a relinquishment of control when you do that, right? True leading instead of just control and management. So, how do we co create a vision? And then, how do I champion it through to the end? What's it look like on the daily to keep people really excited? When we solve customer issues, do I start off with saying, how do we make this better for Troy? Remember, Troy's here watching, right? How would we make this better for Troy? And now they're like, but I was working on this like payment thing, how we get the payment stuff rolling. Yes, I know. And how do we do this to make this better for Troy? Okay. And they're like, okay, we're building a process around there. Going back to they're learning to build the processes the way Kara has already learned how to do. They're solving the problem directly in line with the vision. Teach them how to do the things you already did. You made the shift. Now, each one of them have to make the shift. So first, set the vision. Second one is building the team and then lead metrics around it. How well are they leader feeders instead of leader eaters? Right? Are these people who are building leadership in others, building others to be great, that their team are leaving them to do other things in other parts of the business because their talent is so in demand, because they're so good? I need to know, are my leaders leader feeders or leader eaters? And that can often be by, how much are they promoted above and beyond where this person even is, because they're so good at talent. They're so good at building that team. They've learned how to hire, lead, and fire to the vision that they're championing. And that's a key thing. So setting the vision and building the team become new key metrics for a great leader. And then the third one is building this culture of accountability, clear metrics, driving results. They're delivering the value that the business is promising basically out there, or they're doing the sales or whatever. They need to make sure they've learned how to deliver results through others instead of delivering results through just working harder and longer. And so delivering results through others, through better systems, through better handoffs, through better, right, whatever processes that we use, but to build that culture of accountability where no team member would be satisfied letting down someone else on the team. Right. So that ownership is deep throughout. Uh, and recognized by the rest of the company. Right? They're like, oh, yeah, their team, they own it. They get it. It's theirs. It's not just they show up when Susan is there with thumb on top of them. They do the
Right.
work when Susan's on vacation. Like, yeah, because they own it. So learning to do that, we like to say you need to do that while caring throughout, the deeply caring, where everyone knows you care deeply, and that, and so they care about what you care about, right? They don't care as much about you until they know you care about them. So a leadership model can be really important, that we can teach new leaders from the beginning. This is what leading means in our company. Okay. It's not just get more work done through other people. It's all of these things which are building our capacity and capability as a company to face new challenges, grow, build, and do all that sort of stuff. So there's hopefully a piece of a model. If that's working for you, or if you're like, okay, I can grab onto this, the next question is yeah, but what's this look like practically? Because it's not like, I mean, come on, I've got 30 people. You know how expensive it is to just hire someone to be a leader?
Well, I like what you said there about what does this look like on the daily, and keep the mantra. What would I do for Troy? And what I always have practiced medicine and run my business. What would I do if it was my mom here?
Yeah,
And my mom is my rock in life, my best friend. She's so important to me. And if I put her in that role, I guarantee you I'm doing the right thing, because there's not a moment I would do anything but perfect for my mom.
yeah,
And so if I put each of my patients and each of my prospective patients, or now in this case, each of my other doctor's patients in that role, um, that's the,
that's the
well,
idea. That's the standard of excellence we're after. And
that's the
and
standard
now
of
we just
excellence.
want every employee saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I liked what you said about setting that vision, and because we're going to be onboarding a lot of employees in the upcoming,
Yeah.
and so creating, as we talked about, a system for how do you onboard, and starting with like, here's our purpose, this is our why, and a person who this has touched. Every time you're frustrated, think of them and be like, all right, what would I do if it was them? All
That's
right,
right.
here we go. I got some more energy. I got some more motivation. I will call that insurance company one more time. And,
It's right that they'll put
that
the extra effort in because
they will.
you found a way to make it practical for them on the daily. Then in the leading side, I want you to get really good at identifying your next leaders by way of letting everybody on your team who are doing their day job right now well, and you think they may have additional capacity or they show that they have some desire at all, to do little tasks along the way, little leadership things. And it looks like this. You've had your offsite meeting because you're using some of these systems. You've had an offsite meeting. You've identified some, we call them priorities. You use the term rocks, right? That's from Covey, the rocks, right? That you put in first. You've identified some rocks. Well, instead of just giving it to the leadership team to do and run those things, have one person from the leadership team own the rock, and they put together a task force team. That means it's not permanent, of people who don't even report to them. They could,
Yep.
but generally don't. And then get those people. I get those people who are all doing their job plus. They're the ones who get to be part of this team. And it's not everyone on this rock. Maybe I have another one on another rock, but they get to participate in building the future of what they're going to be working in. They're creating the solutions they'll be implementing, or the ones that will be impacting them. And they get to help plan it out and think about it. They get to help put it all out on the Gantt chart or whatever you do to project manage. And they get to own subtasks, fully own them, and report back. And they get that exposure to the executive or CEO because they're working right there on their team. And you get to see, right, and coach them and do little things. And they're just doing an hour or two a week that they're actually putting into this. But it's making a big difference in helping them own things, hear the kinds of questions you ask. So they're starting to think and ask the right kinds of questions. They're beginning to think and act more like an owner in the work. It's no new promotion. It wasn't a raise. It was extra credit. And it was fun. And they were building the future, and they're that much more engaged. That's a key spot to give people chances to begin leading, is just little touches like that. There's several others, but maybe that's enough for this call, this coaching time, to say, hey, I've got two spots. I can have them approach every problem with the purpose in mind. No problem's ever approached without our purpose in mind. And number two, when we're working on something big, who's shadowing me, right? Maybe it's on those quarterly priorities or something else. Who's shadowing me, so that we can learn together a little bit. Doesn't take a ton of time, but it makes all the difference.
We started doing tiger teams about 3 or 4 months ago, with that exact idea,
Nice.
to create the, not only does it create a team environment, and everybody loves teams, but it also brings the next generation in to, the junior person on the team is working with the senior person on the team, and everybody's collaborating
Yeah,
as part of the team, and it's an equalizer in the, like, the I'm just as I'm valuable.
that's
It's a,
right.
it's
That's
a value
right.
add that the most junior person feels extremely valuable because they're in a tiger team with the CEO or the COO, or, and
Yeah,
it's,
I
and
love
they're
that.
being listened
That is
to.
going to pay out dividends forever for you. Forever. You're training your team to solve any problem that comes up,
Hmm.
not just this one little thing. They're learning. And in the end, it's not about getting the task done. That matters. But something my wife and we share a lot is the purpose. And sorry, this is in another realm of life. But the purpose of the task is to strengthen the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's the strength of those bonds, those relationships, that get us to step up and do more and be more. As your Remember, they're coming from different parts of the business. Instead of an us versus them in your business, it's one team. It's people they've trusted. They've been in the trenches with them, or in the foxhole if it was really difficult, right? They've been in the hard work together. The relationship has been formed. The trust is there. They can rely on each other. They learn and grow faster. And that will beat out competition any day. People can't duplicate that very easily, right? How that strength of the
100%.
relationship.
And struggle, shared struggle is
Yep.
one of the most bonding things, especially shared struggle that leads to shared success.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a culture of exactly what you want: work together, grow together.
So those are some keys as you begin adding in leaders in that 30 phase. Think that. And if I had one last tool, people can look up this later, but think, how do I teach them how to do an effective one-on-one every week and never miss it for anyone they support, so that they know what matters to that individual, and they know how the business can help them achieve their personal and professional goals. That one-on-one matters for that. That's where the care starts to show up, and it can drive their success within their roles. We call them their big threes, the metrics. We look at that. How can I help you achieve it? The metrics are yours. I'm here to help you succeed to get there. And the one-on-one, I would teaching a new leader how to do those and do those well will be one of their greatest tools in that toolbox. To set the vision, build the team, and deliver results happens in one little meeting in many ways. So, okay.
Thank you. You're not do that very, so that's a great take home.
Yeah, we'll just drop it right there. Kara, if somebody wants to watch in awe or tap into the great resources you do, how would they contact you?
Reach out on my website. There's two different ways, troymed.com and drkarahartl.com. Both those have contact forms that are always checked, or you can always direct email me at kara.hartl@troymed.com. Like, I love personal connections, especially to other entrepreneurs, CEOs, like anyone. I mean, we're all in the trenches together. We're all doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not easy. Like,
It is not easy.
that's one of the reasons I love my entrepreneur organization, EO. It's full of people who are in the trenches struggling through it. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Oh, got hit again. All right, get up, keep going, because that's what entrepreneurship is. You start and then you don't stop. That's what we do.
Yep, that's what it is. And get the community around you. They're there. We all want to help each other. So thank you for adding to this community. And we just really appreciate what you brought today, Kara. That wraps up this episode of the 7-Figure Journey podcast. If you liked it, if you grabbed some nuggets out of there, share it with other 7-figure business owners so they too can benefit from it. Do all the things you do in social media to get that out there. Keep learning, keep growing, keep striving, and keep caring. Until next time.